Bunker, 2022. The film opens in a trench where a group of soldiers shares a war song establishing the grim camaraderie characteristic of wartime bonding. Among them is Private Segura, the new recruit who is an easy target for playful teasing due to his naive inexperience. The atmosphere becomes ominous as Lieutenant Turner oversees the unit and the men discuss ghostly figures that allegedly haunt the battleground, foreshadowing darker events ahead. The narrative progresses with the arrival of Captain Hall, who introduces Segura as the new medic. Hall informs Turner of a peculiar situation: the enemy outpost seems deserted. Seizing the opportunity, Turner pushes forward with plans to investigate under the cover of a thick fog, even as unease ripples through the soldiers preparing for the mission. As they cautiously cross no man's land toward the enemy trench, the distant sound of explosions resonates ominously, accentuating their dread. One soldier, Private Gray, succumbs to panic but is hurriedly silenced by his comrades. Upon reaching the enemy trench, they find it abandoned save for a single barely alive German soldier gruesomely crucified against a wall. Inside the trenches, the soldiers encounter a sealed bunker, and despite cautionary murmurs from within, Turner orders them to break it open. Entering the bunker, they are engulfed by darkness and the remnants of a violent struggle. The German soldier is taken in for questioning. However, the bunker soon reveals a sinister sight: bodies piled grotesquely, signifying mass slaughter. The tension intensifies as Private Walker, the radio operator, starts showing alarming signs of distress. When a sudden explosion traps the soldiers inside, chaos erupts. Walker's mental state deteriorates. He mutters incoherently, turns violent, and claims to sense a haunting presence within the bunker. His colleagues, including Segura and Baker, attempt to subdue him, yet an unseen force appears to be driving his madness. Amidst this turmoil, Turner spirals into paranoia, convinced that either the enemy or some malevolent force is manipulating them. His grip on reality loosens, leading to irrational commands that fuel distrust, especially towards Segura and the German captive Kurt. As tensions rise, strange phenomena begin to plague the unit. Whispers echo through the darkness, shadowy figures flicker at the edges of their vision, and the men's rations become compromised, heightening their paranoia. The psychological horror of the situation escalates, and the soldiers, once united by their mission, begin turning against one another, consumed by fear and desperation as the darkness encroaches upon their minds. Betrayal and bloodshed. Turner, increasingly enshrouded in paranoia, makes alarming accusations of treason against Segura and Kurt. His demand for total obedience only fuels dissent among the ranks. Lewis, a soldier once marked by loyalty, succumbs to madness as he begins passionately quoting from religious texts before tragically exploding a grenade, taking his own life in an act of desperation. The dark secret revealed. Kurt finally unveils the horrifying truth: a supernatural entity has entrenched itself within the bunker, thriving on chaos and bloodshed, driving soldiers toward insanity. He explains that the Germans had sealed the bunker as a measure to imprison this malevolent force, sacrificing their own lives for the greater good. The final stand. Turner, unwilling to accept his perceived downfall, becomes violently aggressive, targeting Segura in a fierce confrontation. As a brutal struggle breaks out, Segura is forced to kill Turner in self-defense. With their situation becoming increasingly dire, an injured Baker, filled with dread, insists on their escape before they all succumb to the entity's grasp. Escape and sacrifice. In a desperate bid for freedom, Segura and Baker hastily dig towards the surface, but tragedy strikes as Baker, succumbing to his injuries, reveals he is only 16 and had lied about his age. He asks Segura to find his mother before dying in Segura's arms, marking a poignant moment of loss, rescue, and a haunting truth. Segura manages to evade the darkness surrounding him, breaking into sunlight and encountering allied soldiers who lead him to safety. Yet as he is taken away, a chilling realization dawns on him: the entity has latched onto him, signifying that the war's horrors persist even beyond physical confines. Lieutenant Turner, the descent into madness. Turner begins as a capable, disciplined officer dedicated to his mission. However, the oppressive conditions of the bunker warp his mindset, escalating his paranoia and leading him to believe his men are plotting against him. His transformation highlights the dehumanizing nature of war, blurring the lines between trustworthy leadership and tyrannical control. His violent unraveling ultimately transforms him into a tragic figure, consumed by a cycle of fear and dominance. Private Segura, the survivor. Segura embodies the archetypal soldier, youthful and idealistic, who is ultimately thrust into the grim reality of warfare. As a medic, he bears the heavy burden of caring for others amidst pervasive death. By story's end, he emerges broken yet alive, carrying the emotional scars from his harrowing experiences. Private Lewis, the religious fanatic. Lewis begins as a devoted soldier, yet spirals into fanaticism, interpreting the horrors around him as divine retribution. His self-destructive act with a grenade starkly underscores the perilous edge of extreme belief. In Bunker, the character dynamics and overarching themes paint a haunting picture of the psychological impacts of warfare. Baker represents the innocent victim, a naive young soldier drawn in by the allure of adventure. His background of deception to enlist adds a tragic nuance to his role, especially highlighted in his poignant request for Segura to relay the truth to his mother, symbolizing the devastating loss of innocence at the hands of war. Walker serves as the early warning sign of the deterioration of sanity within the group. His mental collapse marks the onset of a supernatural influence permeating the bunker. Walker's self-harm and erratic behavior illustrate his heightened sensitivity to this enigmatic energy, foreshadowing the psychological unraveling that will ensue among the soldiers. Kurt, the German prisoner, injects an element of intrigue into the narrative. His cryptic warnings and composed demeanor imply he possesses an understanding of the dark force at work, though his true nature as either innocent or complicit remains ambiguous. This duality raises questions about guilt and the ethics of survival during war. The film delves deeply into the theme of the psychological toll of war. Here the bunker serves as a metaphor for the soldiers' psyches, encapsulating their entrapment and descent into darkness. The entity within the bunker is not merely a physical threat but a manifestation of their fears and traumas that continue to haunt them long after they have left the battlefield. Additionally, the supernatural aspect of the film acts as a sinister reflection of the guilt that soldiers carry. Instead of direct assaults, the entity corrupts minds and instills paranoia, mirroring the lingering effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. The soldiers find themselves battling not just a tangible enemy but their guilt and fears that seem to creep in, giving life to a horror that persists even in silence. The narrative also examines themes of leadership versus tyranny encapsulated in Turner's character arc. Initially a strong leader, Turner succumbs to authoritarian impulses under pressure, demonstrating how the corrupting influence of power can lead to a soldier's downfall amidst chaos. Furthermore, Bunker showcases the disintegration of trust among comrades, amplified by the presence of an enemy prisoner. The burgeoning paranoia reflects historical realities of wartime, where the bonds of brotherhood can fracture under intense stress. As we explore the multifaceted interpretations of the supernatural entity, Bunker emerges as a poignant representation of the war horror genre, marrying haunting psychological elements with chilling supernatural occurrences. The film invites viewers to ponder the nature of guilt and the insidious impacts of war on the human mind. In fortified positions, experiencing extreme isolation and psychological strain. This dangerous atmosphere is effectively mirrored in the bunker, where the characters face their fears and insecurities, leading to a breakdown of trust and a descent into chaos. The influence of war on morality and identity. The concept of the angel of war illustrates how conflict alters human morality, portraying once noble men as mere pawns in a greater struggle devoid of humanity. The entity's presence pushes characters like Turner and Lewis to commit heinous acts against each other, highlighting how war reshapes identity and morality, often in detrimental ways. The impact of collective trauma. The film suggests that the trauma from intense combat can create a collective psychological burden. The soldiers' shared experiences deepen their descent into madness, reflecting how traumatic events can haunt not only individuals but entire groups of people. The anxiety, paranoia, and hallucinations signify the lingering effects of trauma, where the past continues to influence the present, leaving survivors like Segura permanently scarred by their experiences. Exploring the nature of evil in war. The notion that the entity within the bunker is a curse serves as a broader commentary on the nature of evil cultivated in warfare. The deaths that occurred within that confined space metamorphose into an unholy presence, echoing the belief that war breeds suffering far beyond the immediate physical consequences. This curse can also be interpreted as a legacy of violence, where past atrocities resonate through time, affecting future generations of soldiers. Isolation and the fear of the unknown. The bunker's isolation amplifies the soldiers' fears, turning them against one another. The inability to escape their surroundings symbolizes how war traps individuals not only physically but mentally. The threat of an unseen enemy becomes a reflection of their own internal battles, fears of inadequacy, betrayal, and mortality, which manifest in violent paranoia. Conclusion: the duality of the entity. In conclusion, the Angel of War serves as a multifaceted symbol within the film, representing both the psychological impact of war and the concept of inherent evil born out of conflict. Whether seen as a literal fallen guardian or a manifestation of the psychological decay instigated by trauma, the entity encapsulates the horrors soldiers face, making Bunker a poignant exploration of the darker aspects of human nature exposed by war. Ultimately, it reflects the brutal reality of how combat can distort identity, morality, and humanity itself. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.